Okay, so we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this online conference on strengthening GIs, organized by the Director General for Rural Development and Agriculture of the European Commission and the European Union Intellectual Property Office. We have so many participants registered from all over the world, all the 27 member countries of the EU and several other countries in Africa, Americas, Asia. So really welcome to everybody and thank you to be here. My name is Massimo Vittori. I'm the Managing Director of Origin, the Global Alliance of Geographical Indications. We work for better protection of geographical indications nationally, internationally, and also to spread the knowledge of the potential benefit of GIs in terms of sustainability. So you can imagine I'm so pleased to be here, to have this opportunity to participate and to moderate this panel on sustainability. And in particular, how GIs can contribute to a more sustainable future. When we look at sustainability, the United Nations has been working since the end of last century on sustainability. It was defined, sustainable development was defined as the development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the possibility of future generations to meet their own needs. And as you can imagine, since then, the problems of growing population, feeding a growing population, climate change, growing inequalities have been skyrocketed internationally. So the UN has been working on SDGs, specific sustainable development goals that touch upon specific targets in terms of reducing poverty, hunger, promoting health, promoting decent work, preventing environmental degradation. So it's clear today, and even this pandemic has accelerated the debate, there is a moral obligation to respond to those challenges, and agriculture is, of course, in first line to respond to them. But there is also commercial concerns because, as many of you know, the sustainability issues are becoming a growing concern for consumers, for retailers. So it's important for all economic actors to do their part to respond to that. And geographical indications for sure are there, will be part of this game. And we even believe at Origin that they are in an ideal position to respond to those sustainability challenges because of the importance that GIs attach to the local communities, products that cannot be delocalized, the governance that already exists among all the actors in the value chain in a given territory. So how can the sustainability performance of GI be reinforced? How this can be controlled? How we can convey the message to consumers. So to try to respond to some of those questions and many other questions that you might have, we hope that participants also will send us questions to enrich the debate. We have the pleasure to have two experts, one from the academic community and one from the producer side, from the GI producer side. So we have the pleasure to have with us Mr. Filippo Arfini, who is full professor of agricultural economics at the University of Parma. He holds a PhD in economics and has been working, among other things, in the Horizon 2020 Strengthen to Food project. We also have the pleasure to have with us Mr. David Brazil, who is Secretary General of the Council of Wine Communities, which is the Hungarian interbranch organization of the wine sector. And also previously, David has been working as a policy advisor of Copa Cogeca for wines and spirits, and he holds also a PhD in agricultural economics. Before I give them the floor, let me give you a few information about the questions. You can use the chat, you can use the Q&A. Even if you want to make a question live, you can mention it in the Q&A. Someone will upgrade your status in order to give you the possibility to speak, but please keep your questions and comments short, simple, to the point. And if possible, also give us your full name and affiliation so that we can put your question in the context of your work. So with no further ado, I now give the floor to Professor Arfini.
Good morning to everyone. Welcome to this very promising panel. I would introduce myself briefly. I am a full professor at University of Parma and working for many years on the topics of geographical indication. Now, today, I will present you some result of work did across the EU project Horizon 2020 Strain to Food, and I share the result, of course, with my colleagues. So I will going to introduce you what are the evidence of Strain to Food in terms of sustainability. Okay. First of all, I think that we need to conceptualize the sustainability for geographical indication. And so we have to be very clear for us what are geographical indication, what are the main features, and what is sustainability. In the economic point of view, sustainability is an extrinsic attribute because it's able to influence what are the intrinsic attributes of the final product. But it's also a trust good. We can't prove and we can perceive sustainability as a consumer. Consider this in the GI product. We have to know and to be conscious that GI are products that are embedded with a territory. So this must give us that is not only the concept of value chain, of effective value chain, but we need to deal also with the territory, but also in top of that, we have to deal with the technical and social compromise given by the code of practice, defined by local actors. And that they evolve over the time by or through a collective governance system. The second aspect is that in consideration of what I said before, geographical indications are able to produce public good and private good. Example of public good are to preserve the quality, avoid unfair competition, increase reputation of a territory, facilitate the relationship among stakeholders, etc. So the main aspect is that as a public good, they are not compensated, and in some cases they are pure externalities, and that is another relevant point. So considering if we want to increase and to know which are the how to reinforce the concept of sustainability, we need to conceptualize this aspect, and in the logic of Strain to Food, what we did, we use exactly this concept, the concept of the value chain that cross a territory. Because in the territory, we can have a different type of value chain, local to domestic market, local to global market, and then the impact in terms of sustainability change if these different value chain are working in the same time within the same territory. But in addition, we need to share some method to assess sustainability using indicator, and this is, for instance, what FAO suggests us in terms of assessment of indicators or assessment of how to assess sustainability through indicators. We need to identify what and share what are the determinants who impact on sustainability, with the aim to facilitate the compensation of externalities that are generated by GI product. In order to do this, in the Straight to Food project, we have considered a group of indicators taken by the SAFA, what SAFA suggests us, and these indicators are economic indicators, are environmental indicators, are social indicators. In the economical indicators, some indicators concern like price, net margin, and the export in sharing are related to the firm or the company behavior, but we have other indicators that for us are very important, is the local multiplier effect of the geographical indication, mean the impact at local level, the economic impact at local level of geographical indication, and that is the starting point in order to guarantee a good social dimension, respecting what are the environmental situation. So in some way we have to take in consideration what again the FAO suggests us in terms of valorization of geographical indication, respecting what are the local knowledge, the local attribute, and given the possibility to reproduce in the end the local production system. Well, the Commission, when invited me, has posed us some questions, and the second question that gives to us was really which tools and incentive will enable GI producers to meet the environmental, climate, and animal welfare, ensuring a long-term benefit. So in terms of tools, again, I think that they are very useful in order to have a common standard and to share a common view, and so to have a common set of indicators, because it's obvious if each of us will use a different set of indicators, then result will not comparable, and would be a big noise around that, and will be not clear the message to the consumer. Instead, if we have a common set of indicators, must be very clear, and the communication that we will give to our customer. And then some tools like some spreadsheet associated with the use of indicator can be very useful, and we tested in the Straight to Food project. And so to have a guide on the how to support the assessment of indicator in different local agri-food system, but also the information related to ongoing good practice that support this indication. In the Straight to Food project, you can have a view of that, and then you can test and see directly what are our results. So in terms of incentive, what we think that can be interesting is to support research in order to understand and to manage what are the determinants included in the code of practice that affect on the generation of public good and then influence sustainability. Research in the public good generation for specific geographical indication, Here I'm thinking especially with the impact on the health of the consumer that different GI can produce. Assess the evolution of the determinants over the time due to the technical pressure or the innovation pressure on the geographical indication system, and how to react, and what are the governance strategy that Geographical Indication Association can adopt, and then communicate public good to the consumer. This aspect is very important, because if we do not communicate, we lost a part of the value that is associated to geographical indication. And then improve the effectiveness of short food value chain, and even of the effectiveness of a GI system, even through the short food value chain strategy and strategy related to the public sector food procurement that generate positive impact in terms of local multiplier and in terms of reputation and knowledge. The last but not the least is to subsidize certification cost associated to public good, because is an additional cost that the society required to the consumer to prove that they really are going to produce externalities. How we can clearly provide information to the consumer. The best is to use a collective strategy that is shared by group and or interbranch organization, because it's no matter of just one company, but is a matter of all the producers belonging to that specific GI system. And so communicate the feature of GI code practice that make explicit the link with the territory and with the public good generation. Communicate also the state of the art and evolution of public good through a dashboard or social accounting report, like a big company or a company who deal and produce benefit to the society. One issue is to support a small group, because it's easy for a famous and reputed, well-known and big geographical indication, but will be more difficult communicating, invest in communication, invest in promotion for a small group where are very localized in maybe a very remote area. And of course, and definitely, I will suggest to use third-party certification, because they are trust good. And as we said, and in order to not add new type of cost for the group or to the producer, if they want to prove that they are going to produce public good. And so it's possible to verify, yes. And as I said, research show us a very clear message. And in our research activity, in these 5 years of research, we can say that we have proof that it's possible to set and define the use of indicator, the type of public good. And of course, there should be a moment of debate and discussion with the group, with the stakeholder, in order to define the best combination and the best solution shared by and with the stakeholder. How could the sustainability performance of GI verified? First of all, we need to adopt a common conceptual framework in order that we are on the same level. and we have a common languages. And this conceptual framework will need to concern the area of production, the role of value chain, the governance structure, research, stakeholder, and the local agri-food system. It's not relevant to compare one GI against another GI because each GI is own specific feature, but have a common language is extremely important. And so a shared methodology to assess sustainability was defining what are the social, economic, and environmental indicators, a methodology suitable for their assessment, data collection and elaboration, and then communication of the internal and external stakeholder. Of course, should be a commitment, a strong commitment by the producer. I mean, it's not this a type of greenwashing activity, but it's a very serious work, a very demanding work that involve all the actors of the value chain. So I just give you some drop of our research when we think about local agri-food system and the role of a territory and the dimension of the value chain and the complexity that is behind this concept. And so these are the example of Parmigiano Reggiano, where we have a territory, we have a value chain, they are cross each other with different type of agent that cooperate with them and then interact with them in different way, where is located research activity, other stakeholder, private stakeholder, public stakeholder, and then of course we have effect on terms of sustainability. This concept is a little bit more complex than the classic value chain, where the territorial features are not considered. So we can assess eventually to make a comparison between different products, and but as I said, the aim is to share a common methodology and not really to compare with other, but to assess what are the meaning of each indicator. And the stakeholder must be very careful to define their meaning and their role and their message, then the producer must deliver to the consumer. One other possibility is to assess the evolution of the system over the time, considering the dimension of the farm level, for instance, the processing level, and in the different set of indicator, and then give an evaluation of which type of dimension of sustainability is going to be will evolve in a positive way or negative way, and then to adopt an appropriate governance action by the group or interbranch organization. So just let me make a little promotion of our work that is published in this book that you can find, of course, in the web, where we have compared 52 products with 23 type of indicator. So we think that we hope at least is the contribution of our group and the European Commission that support us, and we really thank the Commission to the debate to find the common set of indicators useful for the GI system. There are many indicators, but believe me, there are some indicators that are very simple, very clear, very powerful, like this picture made by Stanislao Fari when he portrayed the landscape of Parmigiano Reggiano. So with this beautiful message and images where landscape, man, people build and make a territory, I thank you very much, and I'm waiting for your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Filippo, for your presentation. A few key points that you mentioned: this need to have a common language when we speak about sustainability, in particular for GIs, we need to speak a common language. So that's great, the message that you send us. And also the fact that GIs are, sustainability for GIs is a process. So there is no need to compare one GI with another one, but rather it's for a GI itself to look at its own characteristics, its link with the territory, and see how progress can be made. And then you mentioned another two key points in my view: the fact that the majority of GIs are characterized by small groups, so the need to take into account this important element in order to provide them also the resources to make the analysis, to make the improvement, and to communicate to consumers. And also the third-party controls, which is an element which can reinforce the objective evaluation of the sustainability performance. And let's not forget that GIs are already subject to third-party control. So it's a little bit in the mindset already of GIs to be subject to those controls that could be extended to further sustainability objectives. Let's now move to the second presentation for the experience of producers. And David, you have the floor.
Thank you, Massimo. And thank you, first of all, to the Commission for the invitation. And after a very complex presentation, I would like to present our point of view via some examples from the wine market, from the wine sector. I don't know can I have my presentation, or only it's me who doesn't see it. Okay, it will arrive certainly. Massimo, just a question: do you see my presentation, or?
No, not yet. So
Not
if
yet.
the technical support can share the screen with David's presentation, please.
Okay, but nevertheless, I think I will start my presentation, and even if it arrives, this technical support will share it. We in the wine sector and maybe I start with our presentation. The National Council of the Wine Communities is an interbranch organization representing 100% of the grape producers and the winemakers, sellers. And just in order to give you some keywords, in Hungary we cultivate around 63,000 hectares of wine grape. The average production is 2.5 million hectoliters. And we have 32 PDOs and 6 PGIs altogether. And we are discussing very often about the sustainability of the wine sector and wine GIs, and we determined 4 aspects of the sustainability in Hungary. One aspect is very important: the legal aspect, the economic aspect, the social aspect, and the environmental sustainability as a very, very important aspect in the future. and in the present as well. First of all,
I'm sorry, David, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there are two things I need to tell you. When you are moving your slides, the microphone is completely saturated. I mean, when you are moving your papers. The second thing, for your presentation, the technical team tells me that they didn't receive it.
Okay.
So if you send it to me, or if we allow, the technical team to be able to share your screen so that you can show it, either one of the two way.
I suggest I send you the presentation, Joanna, so David can continue.
Perfect, and you can continue. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry for this inconvenience. And first of all, I would like to give you some example which shows that the system of geographical indication is not only a sustainable and viable system in the wine sector, but also a historical and traditional and very complex system in the wine sector. Although different names have been given and have been used in different countries and region all over in Europe, we can find this collective approach of GIs. This approach was always focused on the unique unique quality product of the terroirs and on the long-term interest of these producers. In Hungary, we have these groups of producers since the 12th and 13th century, and they could determine the production rules, the cultivated area, sometimes the penalization of producers, etc., etc. And some towns have even banned the delivery of wines from other wine regions or punish the merchants who have blended local wines with other wines. This is the historical approach of the geographical indication. It was sometimes a protection of the market as well. But for us as Hungary, for us it's very important in the history 1737, when the king determined the first wine region, we say, in the world. And it was the Tokaj wine region, and the production rules were defined by the wine communities. These wine communities were recognized by law, and until their ban in 1948, it means during the communist period, they were the basis of the Hungarian qualitative production, wine production, and the self-regulation production. Because our interbranch organization is not only an interbranch organization, but we have very important power of control, or as part of self-regulation. I will check if I can. Can we go faster? Yes, we had this part. During the communist period, we lost all of our self-regulation system, and the Hungarian government used to introduce a mass production system in the wine sector. But after the change in 1990, the wine communities was established, and they are responsible for the GIs and for the product specification, and they have very important roles in the self-regulation and the self-control as well. In the legal aspect, we have two important needs: the national and the international protection of the products, and the control of the, and sometimes as economic aspect a little bit, but the control of the production. Because the most important things at international level, Hungary is member of the WIPO since the beginning, and the negotiation, for example, with the EU in the years of 19th and beginning of 2000, Tokai was recognized as a Hungarian PDO, and a transition period was introduced. And also in the commercial agreements of the EU, the Hungarian PDOs and PGIs, including wine PDOs and wine PGIs, are included in the agreements as intellectual property. So concerning the legal basis, what is really important that the system of European Union is also developing and always was recently reformed in 2009 with the definition of PDO, PGI, and traditional system. The European Union introduced a common legal basis which durably protects the GIs and traditional terms, but which is very important in the wine sector. When we speak about the geographical indication, in our mind as producers, we don't speak only about the PDOs, PGIs, but also about the traditional terms, which are a very important heritage of our producers. And nowadays, one of the most important legal question about the sustainability is about the possibility of the regulation of the potential of production. It was called before the replanting rights, the planting rights, but nowadays we use the term the potential of production. This is one of the elements of the sustainable wine sector in long term, that we can control for ourselves the area of the production. As economic aspects, the product specification, I gave some example about the the meaning of legal document, but as production rules, we are able to reduce or yield or yield per hectare, and introduce high quality standards in order to protect the long-term interest of our producers. It means the notoriety, and in order to have a higher added value in the production. But the GIs as economic aspects for us is more than a geographical indication and intellectual propriety. In France, we call it as bassin de production basin. It means this is the not only a product, but behind the product they are the collective, the citizens, the producers, and all the commercial line of the product. And it gives also the opportunity to development of other economical activities. And vineyards, wine fields take part of the landscape. And just to give you some examples, some of our landscape in Hungary takes part of the World Heritage of UNESCO, like the Verte Neusiedlers, the cultural landscape. The vineyards are considered as part of the Verte Neusiedler landscape, and also the whole Tokai wine region, which demonstrate the long tradition of special wine production on the hills. So the wine sector and the wine region take parts of the cultural landscape the Hungarian of Hungary. So, but we speak certainly when we give as an example in Hungary, we certainly speak about Tokaj, but we should take another example, for example, Villány. Villány at the beginning of 19th was a characterless wine region where the mass production was introduced. Around 30, 60, 70% of the wine field we cultivated, and during this period more white grape varieties. But the producers analyzed the savoir-faire, their historical savoir-faire, and it was more interested in the red wine production. So the locality, the collectivity of Villány, the producers organized themselves. They focalized on the red wine production, like the Portugieser and the Cabernets, and already in the beginning of 19th, they organized a wine route association with a very high control system. And also already in the early of 2000, a new classification of product specification has been introduced, and a very new product, the Villány Franc. This is a Cabernet Franc product, which is nowadays also recognized by the professionals, by the master of wines, master of sommeliers as well. So in order to improve the valorization of the product, they introduced in around 2010 a sustainable promotion policy in order to improve the added value of the product. Nowadays, this production basin is the example of the wine tourism in Hungary. They have 4 and 3 stars hotels, pensions, and around more than 200 tourists wine tourists visit each year this wine region, not only Hungarian, but from abroad as well. The social aspect is for GI is always the local employments in long term and the high revenue for the local citizens. And for the parents, it's always important the local education for the young generation. Villány in this term is also an example, not only on the employment system and revenue system, but as secondary school, they have special training programs for winemaker, assistant, grape producer, etc., etc., all around the HoReCa and the wine sector. But when we speak about the environmental aspects, as I told it before, the GI system for us is an example of a sustainable system, but nowadays sustainability has a very important aspect, the environmental aspect, but it's in line with the needs of our producers, respect the biodiversity and the long-term sustainability. For example, a small wine region around 500 hectares, Somló, will be converted the whole area of Somló PDO into ecological production. This is a 3-year-long conversion program with training and advisory program organized by the wine community. But I would like to give you a recent example of the National Council of the Wine Communities, we introduce a grape research program in order for a better adaptation to the climate change, more in order to have more healthy production. For example, resistant varieties, resistant clones of the Hungarian varieties. Just it was a quick look about Hungary, what we think about the sustainability of geographical indication. And I would like to thank you for your attention, and thank you for the invitation of the European Commission.
Thank you very much, David, for having shown us the efforts that Hungarian wine producers make on the economic, social, and environmental side of sustainability, because we should never forget that sustainability has 3 components, and all of them have to be looked after in order to basically ensure the development of the communities. So now we have some 15 minutes for questions. We will start from questions from the floor. We have received 3 requests from the floor. So I would invite first Miss Mélina Blanc from the Ministry, the French Ministry of Agriculture. If you can please ask your question or your comment as short as possible and directly to the point. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mélina Blanc and I'm working at the French Ministry of Agriculture. First of all, let me thank the panelists for their excellent presentations, which allow us to have additional analysis on these complex subjects. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to give you briefly the position of the French authorities. We believe that the main objective of the GI quality scheme should remain the origin of the products, but we are very much in favor of a better integration of sustainability into GI development and management. And why? Because first, consumers express the demand for specific guarantees and products, and the need to take better account of societal expectations lead to this promotion of sustainable development in quality schemes. We all see a multiplicity of private labelings in the market in order to respond to this demand, and this multiplicity can undermine the readability of EU quality scheme. Secondly, the Common Agricultural Policy, the Green Deal, and the Farm to Fork strategy encourages the greening of agricultural productions, and specific environmental outcomes are not always part of the GI specifications. It will be therefore coherent and useful for the PDO or the PGI to be able to clearly indicate in their specification that these issues are taken into account in a rigorous and certified manners. And thirdly, I think it's necessary to recognize the sustainability practices adapted to the specificity of the terroir with its geographical and human factors. And it is a strong demand of our professionals, of operators in the territories. Climate change and enhanced environmental requirements require GI groups to look at ways to ensure sustainability. So my question is linked to the roadmap for the REFIT initiative published by the Commission on the AbioSafe website. In order to integrate societal challenges in the GI framework, the Commission suggests to develop rules or guidelines for sustainable GI production. What would be your advices on how to address the GI sustainability in this kind of text? According to these rules or guidelines, have to be mandatory or not? For example, do we have to ask for a specific chapter in the GI specification on sustainability? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mélina. So, Filippo and David, if you want to provide an answer, how do you see the inclusion of sustainability objectives in the product specification? Should be compulsory? Should we have guidelines? So, to you. Filippo, you are on mute.
Sorry. Sustainability, first of all, is a condition that is already within the product specification. In the Strain to Food, we had to make a collection of already existing good practice that generate public goods and then sustainability, if you like. First of all, I think that it is important to be conscious of these existing practices that maybe are done for many, many years, from century, and by the tradition, given the tradition, and still are there. And but we don't think that they generate public good and contribute to the sustainability. I think that some of them can be very easy to see. Some of the other must be considered in their evolution over the time, and should be managed by a collective approach through the groups. So I think that is important to be conscious, but I would not say that she can be compulsory. I think that maybe is much stronger for the consumer, and should be better if there is a commitment by the producer to commit themselves to make explicit the existing link and adopt a strategy for the future that we consider this aspect in their product, for their product.
Thank you, Filippo. David, do you want to add anything?
I agree with Mr. Professor Filippo Arfini. Our experience is that if it's the reflection of this on the sustainability come from the producer side, and they have an agreement with the producers, it's always better and always gives more it's always more has always more I don't find the word that is always gives more results than it's something it's mandatory, etc., etc. We have very good examples during the 90s with the exchange of with, for example, French, Italian, and other producers. Give examples for the producers in other regions in order to promote the good practices, the good practices of other regions. It was always a better acceptation as we have a new regime, a new legislation, or some kind of documents.
Thank you, David. Just for your information, in the framework of the Common Agricultural Policy reform, Origin has been pushing for an amendment that would allow GI groups that wish to do so on a voluntary basis, to add sustainability elements in the product specification, and this has been basically incorporated into the European Parliament document, and now will enter into the negotiations with the Council and the Commission. But we are quite positive, and we believe that this could be this amendment could be finally adopted and become the law. Okay, so now we give the floor to Mr. Baek from South Korea, who is an academic as well, working in the university. Please, Mr. Baek, ask your question, and please, in a couple of minutes. Yes, I see you.
Hi, I'm Seunga, and I'm working at the Aarhus University in Denmark. And actually, thank you for the presentation from the two scholars. And then I'm gonna just for my question and the comments, I would like to narrow down to the environmental aspect of the GI things. The first one is about organic production. I could say that generally speaking, or roughly speaking, the Scandinavian countries are not familiar with the GI things compared to the other European countries. So do you think, do we embracing these Scandinavian country where they're familiar with the GI things for example, we can consider some country or regional context to customize some environment, their conditions. And my second one is that nowadays there are many initiatives about the short food supply chain through the online platforms. So do you think we could think that how apply this new trend or system to the GI producers? That's my second one. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, hello. For the organic, if I well understood your question, of course, yes. I mean that we can have organic GI, but not necessarily GI are organic, according to again what is a traditional process. So in some cases they are really organic or almost organic, but a discussion can be done. The main difference between GI and the organic system, in my view, is that organic, they have no governance structure behind them, they have no groups, and then it's difficult to promote. So it can be a good idea if we will have some organic GI because reinforce their level of sustainability. But I think that this can be an objective or a strategy that can be decided locally, GI per GI. Considering the short food supply chain,
Filippo, we have 2 minutes, just for your information. Sorry.
Yes, that can be a very good strategy, but need again organization and for small and a compromise or a link between local stakeholder, public stakeholder, and GI producer.
Thank you. I would like now to give the floor to Lucas for the last contribution for the floor, and maybe David will respond this time, but just I would like to tell you some of the questions have been already answered in the Q&A. Some others will be answered tomorrow. So please, tomorrow we have a second panel on sustainability, and I invite all the people that ask questions that haven't been responded to join tomorrow, because you will get an answer as well on those. Lucas. 30 seconds, yes. Please.
Thanks. Thanks for the presentation. I try to keep it really short. We are about to publish or submit an article about how these products correlate with social and ecological values. And we found that the ecological values correlate very well with the PDO products especially, but the social values show the opposite effect. Like people earn less, there's higher youth unemployment. And I would know if there's a specific effort to tackle the social component that I'm sure the PDOs could bring to the rural regions, because now we are talking a lot about ecological and organic sustainability in these ecological terms. But I have the feeling that this is already implicit, but what is not implicit so far is that we strengthen the rural development in terms of social well-being of the people. Is there a specific effort to look on the social side?
David?
In the wine sector in Hungary, the ecological production is nowadays developing, and the part of ecological wine fields are nowadays nowadays not so high in Hungary compared to other countries. We didn't see this. We see always a good acceptation from the producer side of ecological products, and for example, we have always at the moment only positive feedback and positive link between PDO, PGIs and organic products, but we don't have a lot of experience at the moment on this field.
Just before concluding, to add that you will find, and maybe either Filippo or myself or David can send you some information about the positive social effects of geographical indication in terms of preventing poor rural areas from like losing young people that go away to look for other jobs, when they offer concrete opportunity for people to avoid the depopulation of areas. There are interesting elements also in terms of fair distribution of the added value of the GI, and this strength to food as some evidence on that. So we will send you this information so you can include in your study. So with this, I thank everybody. It's 11:31, so we have really kept the times. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to all the participants. We apologize again for the questions that have not been answered, but tomorrow we will answer to them. So please join us again for the panel on sustainability tomorrow at 9:30, if I'm not wrong. And I received comments about Swiss time. Yeah, indeed, we are in Switzerland. So although I'm Italian, I've been used now to respect time. And I say goodbye and see you soon to everybody.
Thank you, Massimo.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.